Welcome to European Railway, the video magazine for the continental enthusiast. Austrian state railways have invested heavily in new diesel and electric locomotives over the past few years in order to replace its rapidly ageing fleet. In this section, we take a look at new Class 2016 diesel locomotives in operation just to the east of Graz, as well as taking a look at some of the older Class 2143 diesels at work to the north of St.Pölten. Our first location is Lasnitz-Hohe, around 10 kilometres to the east of Graz. Privately operated units VT51 and VT52 depart with the 0642 from Weiz. The service is operated by Steiermarkische Landesbahn, or STLB for short. The unit is being based on the OBB Class 5047 design. Freight traffic on the route is heavy, and the single-track line experiences some severe bottlenecks at a number of locations. Here, 2016043 arrives with a train of specialist heavy haul wagons, possibly connected with the transportation of electric transformers from a factory at Ilin. Services on the private STLB to Weiz are usually operated by diesel units. In this case, the 0811 from Graz is formed of OBB's 5047037 and STLB's VT52. Finally, 2016011 departs with the 0838 from Graz to St. Gotthard. With such a spirited departure, it is a shame that these locomotives are so heavily silenced. Austria's older diesels have now largely been replaced in the south of the country by the new 2016s. There remain a good number of diagrams for the Class 2143 locomotives dating from 1965. The line north of St.Pölten is a good place to see the locomotives at work, principally on peak hour passenger services. Here 2143043 is seen near Paudorf with the 0641 from Krems. The 2143068 departs Paudorf on 6th May 2004 with the 0541 from Krems to St.Pölten. The class are now in their last years of service, and these school children will no doubt be getting used to the new Class 2016 fairly soon. The 2143s are very popular with European enthusiasts, and their current workings are well documented on internet news groups. The next few years will probably see some of their final workings. There is no doubt that their throaty engines make them an impressive locomotive class, and in their passing they will be sorely missed. Finally, on the south side of St.Pölten, 2143075 makes a fine sight whilst heading the 1625 St.Pölten to Heinfeld service through Goblersbruck on the 5th of May 2004. In this section, we profile Danish mainline activity just to the east of Middelfart, near Frederica. The Danish system is dominated by these intercity units, which include diesel and electric variants. This one has a mixture of the two, as it hurries east with a service to Kopenhagen. Freight traffic is fairly light at around 1 each way per hour. Here we have class MZ number 1414 on a train for Hamburg. Passenger services operate every 15 minutes. One of Denmark's new cocoa electrics is checked by a local service just in front of it. These new locomotives look really impressive. At Kavslunde, this local all-stations stopping service, formed of a Class 2000 three-car electric unit, departs east just after 7 o'clock in the evening on 10th of May 2004. EA-class electric number 3017 heads this eastbound freight, which it will have hauled through from Padborg. The spectacular bridge across the Lily Belt linking Cinder Island and the island of Finn is seen here as an eastbound service crosses and is about to call at Middelfart station. We now move to Padborg, the main border town close to Germany, as locomotive 3110 moves off the stabling point just to the north of the station prior to working a freight to the north. The Danish overhead electric supply is different from neighbouring Germany's, so any DB locomotives that arrive have to be moved around by diesel locos. Padborg is also the southern limit for internal services from within Denmark. This is a service from Frederica. The unusual sight of an Austrian railway's Class 1116 electric. It is seen here whilst on hire to Dispolok, having arrived from Hamburg on a privately operated stopping service. This locomotive has since returned to the OBB network. Padborg can be quite busy and offers the chance to see both German and Danish traction at work. During our short 2-hour stay, there was always train movements of some kind or other. We last visited Lage Zwaluwe in an earlier issue of European Railway, since when the location has been transformed as a result of the new Dutch high-speed line being built alongside. Hourly push-pull services continue to operate between Brussels and Amsterdam, powered by Belgian Class 11 electrics. Most of these will be replaced by new trains using the new high-speed line. Shortlines locomotive number 2001 powers this lengthy southbound container service. This is a service from Venlo. The new high-speed line can be seen in the far distance. Traffic was continuous with around 8 freight services per hour. Number 6461 heads north off the Roosendaal line. This type of locomotive is common here, working 2/3 of the freight services seen. Following right behind were 6426 and 6423 on a train of ore empties bound for Maasvlakte Yard. With the new high-speed line formation on the left, number 1181 heads south at 10 to 8 in the evening. A large number of the IRM RegioRunner electric units are now made up to 6-car sets. Dutch railways provide the stock for the Brussels to Amsterdam service, whilst Belgian railways provide the locomotives. Compared to previous years, the occurrence of these classic dog-nose electric units is much reduced, their use being confined mainly to peak hour services. 3 Plan V series units head south at 8:15. Freight allocated 1619 heads a mixed freight from Kifuk Yard, situated just to the north of Dordrecht. It wouldn't be complete without a Euro Class 66. Here, PB02 heads a lengthy northbound liner. Through freight to and from Belgium are usually hauled by dual voltage SNCB Class 25 locomotives. Here 2556 heads south just before 9 p.m. The station has been modernised and equipped with a footbridge since we were last here. We couldn't resist this. Number 6494 and 6497 head coal empties for Maaslachte Yard. With darkness fast approaching, number 1840 heads for Venlo. The new footbridge offers much better photographic opportunities, and with the motorway nearby, the station is an ideal stopping off point to watch the action. Our final scene is of Belgian Electric number 1185 at the head of the 2023 Amsterdam to Brussels service. Hungarian railways still operate a number of narrow gauge lines throughout the country. In this section we take a look at the 750mm gauge line to the north of the city of Nyíregyháza. The narrow gauge system is known as the Nyíregyháza Kisvasút and extends for nearly 70 kilometres to the north of the city. Here a terminating train arrives close to the central station within the city itself. Motive power is provided by a fleet of Mk48 diesels hauling basic wooden seat stock, which includes individual coal-fired heating stoves as there is no train heating supply from the locomotive. These are the main workshops where at least 3 Mk48s are undergoing heavy overhaul during our February 2005 visit. The workshops are original and employ a number of engineers who look after all of the line's rolling stock. Outside the shed is a wooden turntable, one of just 2 working narrow gauge examples in the country. In this view, the locomotive has just received a number of routine maintenance checks and the paperwork is duly signed up. Ash from the carriage stoves is placed in piles around the yard. As mentioned earlier, the accommodation is fairly basic, but the efficiency of the internal stoves means that even with outside temperatures of -12 degrees, it is still commonplace for the carriages to go around with their windows down, such is the heat generated within. The first stop on the route is at the edge of the city, where a small flea market generates an incredible amount of traffic, especially in the early morning when the trains are full and standing. This is probably why the line stays open. Access between the carriages is best tackled when the train is at a standstill. The line soon heads into the vast, flat, open countryside which typifies this part of the country. Each station is basic, to say the least, and with a covering of snow, it is difficult to see just where some of them are. The line's main junction is at Hermannitania, where the 4-coach trains are split into 2 before continuing along the 28-kilometre branch to Domrad, or west along the 16-kilometre line to Balsa. The branch is worked by 3 Class Mk48 at any one time. Trains also combine here for the 23-kilometre run down to Nyíregyháza. This train is heading along the branch to Domrad. Have a look out for the stork nest perched high up on the power line support poles. This is the terminus at Domrad, where there is a triangle which allows crews to turn the locos when needed. There is also a small museum here. The town is just a few kilometres away from the river Tisza, Hungary's second largest. This river is also a favourite tourist spot, something which the line benefits from throughout the summer months as extra passenger traffic is generated. The locomotive rounds its train ready for the journey south. The 2 branches see 6 return services each day all year, with the first train leaving during the very early hours of the morning. With a horse and cart visible on the left, this shows the difficult driving conditions crews experience, as many local roads border the line for long stretches. The terminus for the other branch is at Balsa, at a station which is seemingly in the middle of nowhere. The black shed on the right is used to store coal for the carriage stoves, which, as can be seen here, are fully stoked up, ready for the return journey. Even during the day, the trains run pretty well empty. It looks as though many of Hungary's little narrow gauge lines have a good future, so scenes like this are set to continue for a good while yet. The city of Ghent is a major railway centre. We've looked at traffic in the city's central station in a previous edition of European Railway. This time we head east to Merelbeke, which houses the city's main locomotive depot. We take a look at action in May 2004. We begin with a pair of AM70 series units on local services. These early 1970s units are receiving some refurbishment and are set to continue for a while, but probably not in this livery. Seen running adjacent to the depot, these two Class 62 diesels had not long arrived on a local freight. Today these locomotives have very few booked diagrams and operate mainly infrastructure trains around the network or deputising for the booked motive power. The line is 4-track and busy with both passenger and freight. Numbers 1351 and 1326 arrive from the east, ready to work a freight service later in the day. This pair of Class 41 diesel units depart on the 1313 Ghent St. Peters to Gerardsbergen. Class 21 electrics are common here on freight, with 5 examples recorded during our 3-hour stop. A practice which we believe has now stopped is the use of a French diesel on a freight service from Merelbeke to Lille. In this instance it was BB 67543. Number 2725 heads a rake of new M6 double-deck stock. These services run hourly in each direction. In all, we saw around a dozen or so passenger services through the station each hour, as well as numerous empty stock workings to and from the nearby depot. One 1326 and 1351 return with their eastbound set of covered steel wagons. This is the 1256 from Gerardsbergen. To the east of the station is Merelbeke Yard, which still sees a small amount of wagon load activity, although most of this is connected to the permanent way and engineering trains. On the main line is an impressive formation of Class AM 83 units heading east. Dating from the early 1960s, this Class 62 diesel is about to enter the yard. It later returned west with a mixed freight bound for the local docks. The western end of the yard was home to 040 shunt to number 9138, another class dating from the early 1960s. Finally, you may notice something familiar with these wagons, where they are indeed ex-British TTA tanks now working in Belgium together with some former BR Mark I coaches on weed-killing duties. The difference in rolling stock gauge dimensions can be clearly seen as the last wagon and locomotive come into view. So we leave you with this small taste of the UK. We hope once again that you have enjoyed this edition of European Railway.